WGN Sports.
As the Cubs have opened their 5th season here at beautiful Sloan Park in Mesa, we begin our 71st season of Cubs coverage on WGN Sports. Today, Cactus League action as the Cubs host the Chicago White Sox. Beautiful day here in Arizona, a little on the cool side, but the sun is shining. Jim Deshaies and Len Kasper, and the hopes are very high, as they are in all camps, but the Cubs have been to the NLCS 3 years in a row, and they expect to do the same, if not a lot more this year.
Well, yeah, won the division again last year. They've had a very nice offseason, ultimately adding Yu Darvish at the end, but Tyler Chatwood, Steve Cishek, Brandon Morrow also added to this ball club. The favorites to win the NL Central again, and hopefully another trip to the World Series.
Jon Lester announced today as the Cubs opening day starter, and he'll pitch this afternoon.
It'll be the 7th time in his career he's been an opening day starter. A little bit of an off year for John last year. See that ERA 4.33 up a little bit. Dealt with some shoulder fatigue during the season. Spent a little time on the DL, but still managed to make 30 starts, and he's done that for 10 consecutive seasons.
The White Sox in a rebuild mode. They've got some good, young, exciting players, however, and a right-hander, Carson Fulmer, will get the start for the Sox today. Big crowd on hand as the Cubs host the White Sox. Cactus League action next on WGN Sports. Budweiser. Join the team that enjoys responsibly. Budweiser reminds you to drink wiser. Ford, inviting you to visit your local Ford store or buyfordnow.com. Xfinity has the largest gig speed network, serving more homes than anyone else. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois. Choose Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Illinois. The card to carry through it all. And by Volkswagen. Visit your local Volkswagen dealer or VWDealer.com for the Volkswagen dealer near you. And Chicago Cubs baseball in beautiful high definition is brought to you by Xfinity. Xfinity has the largest gig speed network, serving more homes than anyone else. Well, the White Sox had the 4th worst record in baseball last year, but they've got high hopes because of their pipeline, and we'll see some of those guys in action at some point today. Ryan Cordell in center will lead it off. Tim Anderson, Jose Abreu, Abisail Garcia in the cleanup spot, coming off a terrific campaign. Matt Davidson will DH. Former Cub Wellington Castillo catches. Yoan Moncada is the second baseman. Delmonico in left, and Yolmer Sanchez plays third.
Cubs defensively this afternoon on this picture-perfect day here in Arizona. Kyle Schwarber's out in left, or what remains of him anyway. Ian Happ plays center. Jacob Hanneman is your right fielder. Bodie Freeman, Young Caratini, third to first. Wilson Contreras behind the plate. And our Blue Cross Blue Shield Cubs starting pitcher today is Jon Lester. Choose Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Illinois. The card to carry through it all. There are the numbers for John last year. He made 32 starts. 13 up, 8 down, a 4.33 earned run average. Lifetime 159 and 92 as a Cub. 43 up, 25 down, 3.33 the ERA. This is year number 4 for John in a Cub uniform.
Well, you've got the White Sox and Cubs here in Arizona, so you've got to have a Chicago native back at the plate. Here's Dan Bellino, went to Loyola Academy. Kerwin Danley, Jim Reynolds, and Ramon De Jesus will work the bases. Welcome back, JD. It's great to be back.
Back in the sunshine, crack of the bat, the snap of the leather, dogs on the grill, the beers on ice. What more could you ask for?
Cubs have won 2, dropped 1, and played to a 9-9 tie against the Mariners yesterday. The White Sox 3-1. So you can say the records don't matter, but they do keep track of them here in spring training. And here's Cordell to lead it off against Jon Lester, who will make his 7th career opening day start on March 29th, I should say. And we're underway. 1 ball, no strikes.
And we mentioned when we flashed John's numbers there, it was a bit of an off year for him with that 4.33 ERA. But I mean, they all count, but he had 3 or 4 really ugly ones. If you take out the 3 worst, his ERA settles in at about 3.6. So a little more consistent than I think a lot of people realize.
Inside that time. This is John's spring debut. Same goes for Carson Fulmer, pitching for the White Sox today. So Lester probably only works this first inning, unless he's a lot more efficient than against Cordell. A 4-pitch walk to start at 64 degrees as we get started. And we will chat with Joe Madden along with Theo Epstein a little later today. Get their thoughts on the 2018 Cubs. Now Tim Anderson, the shortstop. It's been a little bit on the cool side here in Arizona, but you can't complain about blue skies, no clouds.
Yeah, and
wind not a factor.
It's good weather to work in for the players. Tends to get a little hot here in the desert, and I think guys will tell you they'll take 65-70 over 85-90. The White Sox have brought a football team here today. I mean, I was trying to count during the anthem. Counting coaches, I bet you they've got 60 people here today.
They're managed by look at that, they're too deep.
Double up, boys.
Managed by former Cubs skipper Ricky Renteria. Inside, 1-2 the count. So they say, Jim Deshaies,
they being,
or they used to say that you don't bring out your whole repertoire as a starter like John Lester until later in the spring, but I think that's kind of changed, hasn't it?
Yeah, and I think it's, you know, individual for each pitcher.
Swing and a miss. Curve ball to get him.
I think a lot of the things that we talk about and ascribe as spring training philosophies don't really hold up when you really scrutinize it. It's just talking points that guys have talked about over the years, and that's one of them. Because what happens is once you get out there and you're playing in a real game, even though it's an exhibition game, you want to do well. So it's hard to just go out there and say, well, I'm going to throw nothing but fastballs for my outing here today. You want to go out and pitch. I mean, that's what you're supposed to do. That's what you do in your side sessions as you get ready for these spring training outings.
Jose Abreu. Runner takes off from first. Ground ball. Nice play. And an out there. And that'll be it. Boy, Chesney Young. You mentioned a football squad in the White Sox dugout, almost playing a little football there at second base.
Yeah, the contact at second base was unintentional. Heck of a play here by Chesney Young. But couldn't we argue that should be a double play?
Yes.
Because of base runner interference, because he didn't slide and maintain contact with the base, even though it wasn't really an option for him?
Yeah, I think in the regular season that might be challengeable for sure. Because that looked like once he had it, it would be an easy double play. So it's Avisail Garcia. Look at that. 330 last year. Only Jose Altuve hit for a higher batting average in the American League. Off the inside for ball 1. So Joe today announcing that John Lester would start in Miami on March 29th. The interesting thing about this particular rotation is you could have made a case for 4 guys to be the opening day starter, right?
Well, 3 of them were last year.
Right.
Lester, Darvish, and Quintana. Yeah, I love the depth, the balance in the rotation. I mean, Chatwood doesn't have the resume, but he's got great stuff. He's had great success away from Coors Field.
Bouncer to third. David Bote over to second. No force Abreu. The White Sox don't score. Cubs coming up when we return.
Loss.
Madison Bumgarner on Sunday in Scottsdale. Kyle Schwarber will hit second. Contreras in the third spot. Tommy La Stella coming off a terrific year at part-time duty. It's Victor Caratini, a catcher by trade, playing first. Bote, Freeman, Young, the rest of the infield. And Jacob Hanneman plays right and bats ninth.
So the White Sox defensively, Delmonico's in left, Cordell plays center, Garcia's out and right, Sanchez, Anderson, Mercado, and Abreu third to first. And our old buddy Wellington Castillo behind the dish. Carson Fulmer is a former first-round pick, number 8 overall by the White Sox out of Vanderbilt in 2015. 5 starts, a couple of relief appearances for the big club last year, posting a 3-1 record, a .386 earned run average.
One of the several leadoff candidates for the Cubs. Switch hitter takes ball 1. I think the amount of discussion about who will hit leadoff indicates that there aren't a lot of big question marks for this roster. In the air, pretty well hit out of the deep center, and he's hit 2 leadoff home runs already this spring.
Oh, give him the job.
1-0 Cubs here in the first.
Well, 24 times he went deep for the Cubs last year, third most ever by a Cub rookie, trailing Chris Bryant and Billy Williams. So he's in pretty good company, and this appears to be a 2-seam fastball. Flattens out a little bit on Fulmer, and there's that pretty powerful swing of Ian Happ.
Well, he hit one from the right side off Bumgarner on Sunday. And now left-handed against Fulmer. That'll bring up Kyle Schwarber.
Didn't he have 7 or 8 home runs last spring?
Happ, yeah, he had a real good spring. Yep. 1-0 on Schwarber.
Yeah, so the big stories in camp. Who's going to lead off? Joe Madden playing the art card, and how much weight has Kyle Schwarber dropped?
And the latest story talked about not only the 20+ pounds he lost, but also he lost the knee brace. It's got to be worth a pound or 2, right? 2-0. He has already clicked with the new hitting coach, Chili Davis. And a half cut that time, 2-1.
It's a good 2-0 pitch here. A little cutter or baby slider when a guy's sitting on a heater.
Chili Davis had a wonderful 19-year major league career. And a lot of people don't remember, JD. He was a catcher.
Chili Davis was?
Chili Davis.
I did not know that.
Did you know that?
I did not know that.
In high school, he caught and played first base. And like Kyle Schwarber, after a good first season, and it was with the Giants, the second year didn't go so well, and he got sent back to AAA. So when they got together here this spring, he told Kyle Schwarber, hey, I've been there. And we'll do another 2-2 coming up.
Well, we talk about it all the time, right? The challenges of a young player. Talk about how sometimes there's the challenge to get to the big leagues, then there's the challenge to stay in the big leagues and to continue to improve, or at least maintain the status quo, because as the league makes adjustments to you, you've got to make adjustments of your own, or you're not going to thrive.
Another 2-2 from Fulmer. He's run it full.
Chili Davis career home runs over under 350.
I'm going to go right at that number.
Oh, you nailed it. You know, that's impressive. Can't fool you this early in the spring and you're all over it. Yeah, 350 career home runs for Chili, lifetime 274 hitter.
Called strike 3. Between innings, Joe Madden went out and chatted with Dan Bellino, the home plate umpire, and we'll ask Joe coming up. But we think it was about that play at second base and whether or not that's challengeable in the regular season. Never too early to think about that stuff, right?
Right. You want to, as much baseball as he has watched over these many years, still things come up that you just want clarification on.
Wilson Contreras takes inside, ball 1. He homered on Saturday against Texas. As we often do in spring training, and we should write these things down. We never do. We make wild predictions and the like. What is the ceiling for Contreras in terms of home runs, in your opinion? Can he be a 30-homer guy?
Yeah, absolutely. I think he can be he'd be a 30, 35 home run guy. He has that kind of raw power. I don't know if that would require a little bit a change of his approach.
One and two on him.
I guess sometimes guys will, if they want to try to hit the ball out of the ballpark a little bit more frequently, will get a little more aggressive, change the swing plane, try to loft the ball. He's pretty good at staying inside the ball, hitting it towards the alley and right center.
Now 2-2 the count. Ian Happ with a leadoff home run, giving the Cubs the early lead. Line right to Anderson, the shortstop.
Midseason form.
Contreras just cracked his bat as he slammed it down to the dirt.
I guess that speaks to Contreras' intensity, that during the first week of spring training games, this is how he reacts to a line out. Clearly has his sights set on the Cactus League MVP.
Now the DH, Tommy La Stella. That is a strike on Tommy. Boy, terrific. Last year, just 151 plate appearances, but he slashed 288, 389, 472, career high 5 home runs. Fulmer ready. 1-2.
Pitch is nasty.
So Wilson, I think, was going to, he was going to do the over the knee thing and then chose the dirt instead.
Game of adjustments. Good decision making.
Low that time, 2-2.
Fulmer's got all the weapons. Good heater, averages about 93 miles an hour. He'll cut his fastball, has a curve and a change.
Rocking some pretty cool glasses too.
Part of a group of really talented young players that the White Sox have. Some here, most on the way. Chicago baseball is going to be really interesting in a couple of years.
The Cubs
on both sides of town.
Yeah, the Cubs are in their window, and the White Sox trying to crack open their window too. Three-two, sharply hit on the ground into right center. Listella with a 2-out base hit. It'll bring up Victor Caratini. The dude can hit.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that just annoys pitchers because regardless of the count, he stays with his game plan. He's very difficult to fool. He doesn't go out of the zone very much at all. He's one of those guys you might be better off just throwing sinkers down and away throughout the at-bat and just try to get him to put the ball in play early.
Scary moment in the ball game yesterday. Caratini hit a line shot off the right forearm of Felix Hernandez of the Mariners. He had to leave immediately, and it appears as though King Felix escaped major injury. It's the last thing you want to see in a spring training game is a guy suffering any sort of major injury, especially Felix Hernandez. Swing and a miss. Among the changes this year, Cubs have new base coaches. That's Brian Butterfield over at third. He's been doing this a long time. And Will Venable back in uniform, the former Major League outfielder and a Princeton product, is now at first base. Brandon Hyde has moved back into the dugout. He is the bench coach for Joe Maddon. Popped him up, shallow left. Coming on is Delmonico, and he overran it. Listella around third will try to score, and he will. Cubs lead 2-0.
We are obligated to talk about the sky here in Arizona every spring. Not a cloud at all overhead. And with the smaller stadium, the ball gets up into the bright sky in a hurry, and you see a lot of bad reads by outfielders. Wind not much of a factor here today, although it's picked up a little bit from when we first started. But Delmonico obviously having a hard time tracking that one.
So he's charged with an error. And it brings up David Bodie. Bodie playing third base. Chris Bryant day to day has been under the weather. So that extends the inning for Fulmer. And a fastball at 92 for a strike.
I didn't notice anybody in the pen. Are we going to get one more out of John Lester here today?
We might.
New Cub Tyler Chatwood made the start yesterday, pitched 1 inning.
That's foul.
Fulmer got away with a bit of a hanger there on 0-2.
A huge crowd at Sloan Park. This place holds about 15,000. Looks like we're just a little shy of that this afternoon. That will get down all the way to the wall. Caratini is in. Bodie's going to try for 3, and he's going to make it. Standing. And the Cubs now lead 3-0.
Caratini ball obviously not well struck, but that one certainly was. That was a rocket off the bat of David Bodie. 272 hitter at AA last year. He's been a pretty good hitter throughout his minor league career. Added some power last year. Hit 14 home runs. And a versatile guy. That's probably going to be his path to the big leagues, his ability to play multiple positions. Picks up an RBI here.
Well, the shortstop, Mike Freeman. Hit a game-tying 2-run homer yesterday against the Mariners and is 5 for 7 so far this spring.
Three different stops at the AAA level last year, and 3 different stops as a big leaguer too. Mariners, Dodgers, and Cubs.
One and one on Mike. Now throwing 30 pitches here in the first inning. Comes with a leadoff home run. Scored a run on an error, and then the RBI triple by Bodie. Another base hit, 4-0. You know what they're doing, JD? They're making him pay.
They're making him pay. They're taking it one pitch at a time. And they forced Don Cooper out to the mound to have a chat. Marco, this is mound visit number 1. Because we're keeping track of that this year. They're allowed 6. He's making a lot of mistakes with his slider. He's got a good one, and early in the inning he was able to break it off in under the hands of the left-handed hitters in particular, but a little sloppy with it here lately.
Well, a reminder, everybody is in. Rizzo, Bryant, Javi, Kyle, and the rest of the boys getting ready. Training for another shot at October Glory. Are you getting ready to rep the C, sing the stretch, and fly the W? Because when everybody's in, there's nothing in the world like it. Be a part of it all season long at Wrigley Field. Get your tickets now at Cubs.com. So the Cubs have jumped all over Carson Fulmer, aided by an error from the left fielder Delmonico. Now it's Chesney Young.
You know, if you or I were one of those lame announcers that used to like to drop stupid puns, we might say that Delmonico staked the Cubs or helped stake the Cubs to a 4-0 lead here, but we don't go there.
No, we don't.
It's not what we do.
Oh. So Young just got hit. It gets worse for Carson Fulmer.
Not sure what the philosophy of Ricky Renteria and Don Cooper is with their pitchers early in the spring. Clearly it's, you know, a willingness to extend them a little beyond what we typically see from Joe Maddon and the Cubs. I'm a little surprised that somebody's not throwing right now because he's had to work awfully hard here in this one inning.
Jacob Hanneman is back in the Cubs system after making his major league debut last September with Seattle. Thumped to right. Garcia will run it down, and the Cubs send all 9 to the plate and lead 4-0 after an inning. So John Lester will at least start the second inning. He's got a 4-0 lead. Ian Happ started it with a booming home run. Matt Davidson, the DH, will lead it off for the White Sox.
That big slugger, a lot of swing and miss there. He strikes out a lot. But if you make a mistake, he can make you pay. 26 home runs as a rookie last year, which is really good, but it's half as many as Aaron Judge hit.
About Stanton and Judge now in the same lineup.
Word.
As I mentioned earlier, the Cubs will open the season in Miami 4 games against the new-look Marlins. They traded their whole outfield. Stanton, Yelich, and Ozuna.
Yeah.
And they were
one of the better outfielders in baseball. The blow it up start all over again is nothing new for fans in Miami.
There's a strike. It's 3-1. Derek Jeter now running a baseball operation in South Florida. The Cubs actually begin the year with their longest season opening road trip before they ever play a home game since 1899, as Davidson draws the leadoff walk. Cub fans, don't forget to check out the Cubs blog at WGNTV.com. It's presented by our good friend Jeff Vukovich from Nationwide. Go to jeffvuk.com or follow him on social media. Nationwide is on your side.
Big John will be hunting for the ground ball here, try to get a double play off the bat of Castillo.
Wellington signed a 2-year free agent deal with the White Sox over the winter.
He turned into one of the better offensive catchers in the game. Hit 20 home runs last year. Batted .282.
Yeah, those 20 homers, as you see, in just 96 games. That's a strike.
If you're into this whole L thing, Wilson's got 2 and Wellington's only got 1.
Short lead by Davidson, and Castillo airs it out. 1-2.
Late getting started there as Lester elevated the fastball. Typically when you watch John Lester pitch, everything's down, down, down. Every now and then he'll elevate a little bit.
He got him on the outside corner for strike 3.
Castillo sets up over the outside edge. Lester throws a dart. Castillo's not buying it, and he'll probably talk to Bellino about it when he gets back out there behind the plate.
Switch hitting Yoan Moncada. Inside corner. .54 games with the White Sox last year. Hit .231 with a high walk rate, but has struck out too much early on. So the thought is as he gets more comfortable, the strikeouts will go down a little bit.
Tremendous talent, big ceiling. Sooner or later he's going to be a star.
Yeah, he's still only 22 years old. He came over in the Chris Sale deal with the Red Sox.
I think, you know, the Cubs strip it down, rebuild model, win a World Series. Astros took the same path, and I think a lot of teams around baseball are starting to follow suit, and that's obviously what the White Sox are in the midst of.
And their fans have bought in. Whipped foul to left.
The Chicago Cubs offer special programs designed for your future Cub, from Kids Sundays at Wrigley Field to Clark's Crew and baseball summer camps throughout Chicagoland. There are many ways to build lifelong Cub memories with your kids. Visit Cubs.com/kids to learn all about our Cubs kids offerings.
So Moncada down on strikes. We'll bring up Delmonico, made that big error in the first. His last two sequences, pretty vintage John Lester, right?
Yeah.
Inside, outside corners.
Yep. Two-seamer away, then that cutter to the inside corner. He goes east and west really well. Everything looks the same coming out of his hand, and the late break, it really locks hitters up.
John is 34. Starting the second half of a 6-year contract.
Been so dependable throughout his career. As I mentioned in our open, 30 starts or more in each of the last 10 seasons. This is in a little slow hook there.
If you haven't read Jeff Passan's book, The Arm, I would encourage you to do that. And if you'd rather not read the whole book, at the least read the chapter about John Lester and the offseason he had when he signed with the Cubs. It's a fascinating look inside the game. And a lot of people really do credit that signing, JD, with starting a lot of this, right? The fact that not only did the Cubs show faith in him, but he showed faith in them.
Bought into the program, yeah. Yeah. Better days are ahead. We want you to be a big part of it.
Trusted Theo and Jed and company that these kids were going to get here and this team was going to be really good really fast, and they were. Base hit to center for Delmonico. It's the first hit for the White Sox, and that'll be it for Lester. So he has reached his pitch count. So the Cubs will go into their bullpen. Dauri Torres will take over for John Lester. 4-0 Cubs here in the second. Cubs fans, if you want to manage the game along with Joe Madden, log on to WGNTV.com right now. Click on the WGN Sports Game Zone banner to connect to all the up-to-the-minute stats and info while watching at home. Game Zone is sponsored by The Great Escape, pools, patio furniture, hot tubs, and more. Everything you need to have more fun at home this summer.
Summer?
Summer.
What's that?
I want to send out a happy 85th birthday to Louise Gutman. Rooting on the Cubs today. Here's right-hander Dauri Torres over from minor league camp. Take over for Lester. Torres had a really good year pitching out of the bullpen at Double-A Tennessee last year. Put up a 140 earned run average.
24 years old, from the Dominican Republic.
Sanchez pops it up off of third, and no play for Bodie. Comes the 0-1. It's wide. You may remember Carlos Sanchez, but it's now Yolmer Sanchez. Last year he changed that. Carlos is one of his middle names, so he wanted to be known as Yolmer Sanchez. Two balls and a strike. Hooked into right for a base hit. Throw's going to go toward the middle, and the White Sox on the board as Davidson scores. That run will be charged to Lester. It's now 4-1. Yolmer Sanchez with an RBI single.
Has he been a better player as Yolmer or Carlos?
Yes.
Yolmer's been better.
Yeah. Best year of his career last year.
Wish I had that kind of knowledge back when I was playing. Changed my name to Bob or something.
Jim Deshaies was just okay, but Bob Deshaies.
Oh, man. Look out for Bob. Here's a good fun fact. This young man here, Ryan Cordell, according to the White Sox media guide, his uncle, Mike Whitmarsh, was a silver medalist in the inaugural men's beach volleyball tournament at the 1996 Summer Olympics.
How about that? You see he's got that C-flap on, guarding the jaw area. Sanchez has the same thing at first base. Jason Hayward, Javi Baez, Albert Almora Jr. Has been wearing one, and we've talked about it the last couple of years. I've been wondering if more guys would go to that look, even if they hadn't been hit in the facial area, just as a precautionary measure, and probably takes a few days to get used to it, but once you do, you wouldn't want to go without it. Carlos Stanton has had that for a while, and you know, I guess the downside would just be that it would look weird and some guys might not like how it feels. But
yeah, it might be uncomfortable initially, but as long as it's, you know, not affecting your vision at all, it gives you that extra little bit of protection. Why not?
I think now more than ever, because guys throw 100 miles an hour, right? It's just harder to get out of the way.
Yeah, it's funny when you think about it, because over the years there have been plenty of guys that have padded up their forearm, their elbow, their wrist. You know, why would you not, if you could, protect your face?
On the ground to third, Bodie's got it. And when we come back in the bottom of the second, we will chat live with Joe Maddon from the Cubs dugout. Cubs lead 4-1. It's a great event here in spring training every year. Joe Maddon's Respect Bald event. It comes up this Saturday at 11 a.m. here at Sloan Park on Field 1. Proceeds will benefit pediatric cancer research. Cubs.com/respectbald. And Joe, I know it's never fun to get rid of that beautiful hair of yours. It's a little darker than normal, but you're doing it for a good cause on Saturday.
Yes, modern shampoo chemicals, I guess. Yeah, it's been kind of fun. It's going to be gone. So I'm trying to make the most out of it for these last couple days. I've been utilizing the shampoo more often than usual just to get it more brown. And as long as I possibly can, then it's all gone.
That's great. Good stuff.
Yeah.
I want to ask you before we move along too much. You were talking with Dan Bellino between innings. Was it about that play at second base?
Yeah.
So what was the determination? Could you challenge that in the regular season?
Well, that's what I was asking. I yelled at him for I didn't want to go out and talk about it during the game. I mean, these games are 5 hours long in spring training anyway. But he kind of conceded that it possibly could be. We couldn't determine from here whether or not that tag, I guess, did he have to tag him because he was not on the bag? I couldn't tell that from here. So there's kind of a little nuance in it. He said his conclusion was maybe the first couple innings not, but in the latter part of the game for sure. I'm going to look at it a little bit more and maybe ask a couple more questions, but I don't think I've seen that yet.
My take is just that he didn't slow down when he got to the bag. He ran past it.
Right.
So that would seem to indicate, right, you got to stay on the base.
Tantamount to that. Right, exactly. I just couldn't tell where was Young on that. I couldn't tell from here where Chesney was.
I think, he was in the vicinity, but so you're wondering if you're saying instead of a force play.
Well, he went to tag him. He went to tag him.
Yeah, I thought he had the bag.
Okay.
Yeah, we're looking at it right now.
As he's catching the ball, he gets the bag. Yeah, he was coming up to make a throw, and it looked like he was trying to tag him because I think he was bracing himself for contact because he already had the force out.
See, I thought that he was tagging him because he did not get the bag. So under the circumstances you're describing, I think it might have been reviewable.
Yeah. 3-1.
How about this guy?
Oh, man. Happ with another base hit.
That's two.
Like this right here a lot. Keep going. How about our base running so far? These guys have been amazing on the bases. Right there, he was looking for that extra base right out of the batter's box. Brian Butterfield's been doing a great job. We've been devoting a lot of time to that. Back in the days when I used to work here down the street with the Angels, we used to emphasize that a lot. That was my main emphasis in instructional leagues. If you're going to do that, do it the first thing in the morning. Don't do it as punitive later in the day. We've been coming out of the chute doing a lot of base running, and I love it.
Now Kyle Schwarber.
Was that pitch a strike to Schwarber in the first at bat? Strike three? It looked like he thought it was.
I don't remember.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go. Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, he conceded that it was, I thought.
It was a little backdoor slider, I think.
Okay.
So everybody's in. That's the campaign this year, and you're all about the art and seeing things for the first time. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I was really looking to get the message out, the same message out in different words, different ways. I've been wanting to do this for years, the putting the art back into the game campaign. I've always seen this game as art. Was reading a book about Da Vinci, and I walked into a clothing store, and there's the Mona Lisa on the wall, and I said, that's a sign. So I just went and developed it even further, researched some pictures, and drew my little notes per picture, gave it to an artist, Jason Skeldon in Florida, and he came up with it. They all have a different meaning. For instance, obviously Einstein is thinking outside the box. David is standing on the mound at Wrigley, and that's all about pitching. Salvador Dali with the mask looking into the dugout's about catching. And the Mona Lisa herself is about putting the art back into the game, and a lot of it's defensive generated, like Renaissance chicks dig the leather, that kind of stuff. So everyone has a meaning, and there's other ones coming out. I got a Banksy coming out in a couple days. I love Banksy stuff, and then an Andy Warhol, a Muhammad Ali for something else. And I got another thing in the hopper. Primarily create a theme, create something that I think can sell in regards to raising money for charity and really promoting the arts in our city of Chicago and beyond.
Good stuff.
You could build some road trips around it as well.
Telling you, man, we could go to a Renaissance Festival road trip. I mean, who wants to be Da Vinci, who wants to be Leo, who wants to be Mikey, all kinds of good stuff. It really was a fascinating time in history. A lot of really genius stuff came about. If you read about it, really fascinating people that inhabited the earth at that time, and really led to a lot of the stuff that we're looking at today.
3 balls and a strike on Schwarber.
How about elevated away, left center field gap? Go there. He's going in.
The pitch was outside, and he takes his walk. So 2 on with nobody out. You've been asked a lot about your leadoff hitter, and I think that's a sign of actually, that's a good sign, right? That we're really focused in on one little spot. But the way I look at it, you've got a lineup full of guys who can do it.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's a great topic of conversation. I'm not really concerned about it. Right now, we've been doing Ian and Albert primarily. When Zoe gets well, you're going to see him in there. We might try another guy or two, but it doesn't really mean anything. Honestly, it's a spring training lineup. By the end of camp, we'll try to figure out the best, who's really exhibiting those abilities the best. Seeing pitches, on base percentage. I like the pop in the top of the order there too. Might put the ball at the ballpark like Happer did to start the game. So spring training is an awful time to evaluate personnel. It really is. You have to go off track records. What did he do last year, the year before? I'm much more concerned with that. So we'll just take our time, try to make the right choices. And even as the season begins, whoever starts there may not be there in 2 or 3 weeks or even at the end of the season.
Yeah, how much, what do you project center field looking like? I mean, is Almora Jr. going to be the everyday guy? I mean, Happ's certainly capable of playing out there.
Oh, no, they're both going to play.
Because you're going to have to find ABs for these guys.
Correct. That's the whole thing. I mean, the guys that are going to sit on the bench on any given day can play on any given day. And I've already addressed that. We had our first meeting of the spring with everybody, and I actually was straight up about all that. We really have to, the guys that aren't playing on any given day, we got to, first of all, be ready when you do get in. Second of all, there can't be any backlash. There can't be any meetings after meetings or the water cooler stuff that really drags us down. Guys have to be accepting of that. If they have an issue, they got to come speak with me. But it's not easy trying to get this many good players, a significant number of at-bats. Sometimes injuries, unfortunately, dictate. But hopefully everybody stays well, and they make it really difficult when they're having that morning coffee to try to distribute the at-bats.
Well, it's kind of like, you know, I think if you ask most of your guys, would you rather get 450 at-bats on a really good team or 600 plate appearances on a bad team? Well, you know,
of course,
everybody wants to win.
And that's where we're at. I mean, that's, you know, the fifth level of being a pro is all they want to do is win. I think we got a lot of level 5 guys here. That's going to be a part of the Warhol Ali painting that's coming out. You go through this process growing up in this game, and the 5 levels. Happy to be here too. Survival. I love this. I want to stay here. Level 3, ball 1. Level 3 is I belong here, I can do this. Level 4, and I don't begrudge them. I want to make as much money as I can. And of course, level 5 is all I want to do is win. I think we're littered with level 5 guys.
Hector Santiago back with the White Sox. He started his big league career with them in 2011. 1-0 on Contreras, 2 on, nobody out. Cubs lead 4-1 rather. Joe, what did you learn about your team and just about things last year? It was a really interesting year. 2 under at the break. You end up being basically the best team in baseball in the second half and get all the way to the NLCS.
What I learned, I mean, obviously we are resilient last year. We know how to fight back. I mean, the way that year unfolded, I think, was exactly as kind of thought it might. Of course, you'd rather get off to a better start, but coming off of the first World Series in 108 years, it's difficult mentally to recapture those thoughts and that adrenaline. So we came out slowly, but we found ourselves. And so what you found is that our guys want to win. Just talked about that. They are resilient. They get it. If we get behind a little bit, that does not mean you can't, get back into it or come from behind completely. And the other thing about this year, they're ready. I mean, I think there's a lot of lessons learned from last year, and quite frankly, I thought it was a great year. I really did. I mean, I know a lot of people they always start out talking about last year as though it was a failure in some regard. How could you possibly say that when a team almost gets back to the World Series again? Learn your lessons, man. It's not always going to be an oil painting, with dark being the theme this year, but it's not always going to be perfect. But our guys learned a lot of lessons. I learned a lot of lessons last year. I thought it was great.
And the Quintana acquisition, speaking of the White Sox, was huge.
It really, I thought.
Perfectly timed, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Timing is a big part of this whole thing that we do. I thought when he showed up, it really redefined the pitching staff in a good way. His acquisition and what he did really solidified us from that moment on. We needed that badly, and it was a combination of how good he is and how he is. This guy is such a professional. Everybody watched what he was doing and how he was doing it. I think he kind of regenerated us a little bit. He put a little bit more energy and life into us just based on his personality. He was great.
2-2 on Contreras.
Boom.
Oh, no. And that's going to be 2.
And you know what? He didn't even take his secondary outside of him. He was pretty much in a straight line with him, but that ball kind of sliced into towards the line, and that's why he was able to get that double play.
So 2 outs. And that'll bring up Tommy LaStella. You've got some new members of your coaching staff. We talked about Chili Davis a little earlier. Brian Butterfield, Will Venable, Jim Hickey, who was your pitching coach in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, it's a nice group, man. They've already made an impact. The players have felt their presence already. All of them bring a lot to the table on a daily basis. I've known Hick for a long time, as you said. I've known the other guys. Chili and I were with the Angels in the mid-'90s. It's nice to sit there rubbing up baseballs after a game and having a cigar with Chili back then. Butterfield, I think, has been one of the best coaches in the game for years. I've always admired his work. Love breaking in with Will. Will's going to be fabulous, really bright young man who's wide open, and I love that about him. Andy Haynes ascending from the is that catcher's interference? I thought I heard something. Obviously not.
Yeah, Andy, it's a great promotion for him.
Absolutely, no question.
Absolutely. All right, Joe, thanks so much for the time. We always appreciate
My
it.
pleasure, gentlemen. Have a great day. See you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Cubs lead 4-1. Their 5th spring training game here in the Cactus League 2018. Beautiful Sloan Park. Cubs spending their 5th spring here already. Time flies. Last year set another Cactus League single season attendance record, over 226,000. Came through the turnstiles. Now Dario Alvarez.
Yeah, last year he got a little big league time with the Texas Rangers, 16 1/3 innings worth out of the bullpen, pitched to a 2.76 ERA. There's a lot of sliders. A little big league time with Atlanta and the Mets. Originally signed with the Phillies as a teenager out of the Dominican Republic, played 3-4 years in their low minor leagues, and then went to Japan for a little while.
Faced 2, 3, and 4. Anderson, Abreu, and Garcia.
Well, combined just a little over 1 year of major league service time for Alvarez.
Thanks to Joe Madden for joining us. You know, as I was thinking about that play at second base, and we'll follow up with Joe after he looks at the video. That particular area of replay is still a little fuzzy for a lot of people, right? The base runners and whether they have to slide, and
yeah, under what circumstances too, because this is a situation where you could argue the base runner, he's trying to avoid a tag because he doesn't know what's going to transpire as he gets close to the bag, so he's not necessarily going out of his way to try to upend the middle infielder. He's just kind of caught in a bind there, and I don't know how much leeway the umpires have in interpreting that rule.
Good changeup, I believe, to get him. Yeah, that last look we had earlier, I'm not so sure he would have, or they would have called a double play, because he looked like he was just avoiding the tag.
Good depth on this pitch, whether it's a change or a backdoor slider, it gets the job done. Yeah, and the other part of it too is there an interpretation or some leeway for the umpires when making that call on a second baseman who's fielding the ball going to the bag, as opposed to a second baseman who's taking a feed from a shortstop or a third baseman, because that rule was initially implemented to protect the guy turning the double play when receiving a throw.
With Abreu, you can pretty much count on it. 25, 30 home runs and 100 knocked in. He's done that all 4 seasons in the major leagues.
33 and 102 last year to go along with a 304 batting average. Has tremendous power the other way. Does a lot of work to the gap in right center.
Two and 1 the count. 3-0 the count. The count can be negotiable at times here in spring training. That is ball 4.
Cub fans, join the Cubs season ticket holder waiting list today to claim your spot in our lineup for season tickets. It's easy. It's free to register. For details, visit Cubs.com/waiting list. See, they're all lined up and waiting, very orderly.
Cubs home opener will be against the Pittsburgh Pirates. April 9th. Javi Garcia. And that pitch is high for a ball. Cubs and the White Sox will match up 6 times in the regular season. Kind of an interesting schedule in that regard. The White Sox come to Wrigley pretty early, a weekend, May 11th through the 13th. And then we go to the South Side the second to final weekend of the regular season, 21st through the 23rd of September.
Yeah, normally that series is done by mid-season, right? Usually right in the middle of the year.
That could be a big series. Balls, 2 strikes. Well, congrats to one of your former clubs, the Houston Astros, winning the World Series for the first time in franchise history. And there are a lot of people who think they're the best team in the American League again.
Added Garrett Cole to the already fine rotation. Got all kinds of firepower in the lineup.
Called strike 3. Was it the end of the 2012 season, right? Astros finishing up their National League run before they moved over to the American League. At Wrigley Field, both teams with over 100 losses. And within 5 seasons, both would win the World Series. That's amazing.
And again, I think that's what a lot of people around the game are looking at and saying, you know what, we need to rethink the way we do business here. Sometimes you're better off going through a stretch of really bad as opposed to just limping along with mediocrity for a while.
Slide, step, strike.
So it depends on your perspective, right? There's been a lot of talk about tanking. So are teams tanking? Are they rebuilding? Somewhere in between?
Are they becoming more efficient?
Yeah, or just being smarter. Yeah.
Well, as you look at what's going on right now, there are a lot of really intriguing free agents still unsigned, including Jake Arrieta.
Well, and the other part about that is you know, you can sit here in February and March and identify, well, this team is a contender, this team won't be, and for the most part you get a pretty good handle on it. But every year there's always a couple of teams that surprise in either direction. Teams that you thought they were going to be very competitive will just implode, and other teams will rise up. The Brewers last year, I think, certainly exceeded expectations.
That one hit a ton deep to left, and it'll go. A 2-run homer for Matt Davidson, and the White Sox are within a run.
Hey, he's one of those all or nothing type guys who's got tremendous power, and that one found the barrel. It was a monstrous sky high long ball.
Typically the ball carries incredibly well here in the Cactus League.
Yeah, fair catch that one. No chance to run that one back.
So 2 outs, bases cleared now, and a strike. And Wellington Castillo. I think there are fairly good odds the Brewers will add a major league starting pitcher before opening day.
Well,
there were reports that they're looking.
There was a lot of conversations early on about the Brewers and Jake Arrieta. And now most of the noise around Jake is with the Phillies. Nationals, I think, would be in play for Jake. So yeah, so they're having this spring training for all these free agents right down in Florida. They're working out, and I believe today or tomorrow they're supposed to play a team of Japanese amateurs.
Now, they hadn't been allowing the media to watch their workouts, I assume.
Yeah, even the scouts, they were running scouts out early on, but
I would think a game, you want people there, right? Two balls, two strikes.
It's just really bizarre because it's not atypical this time of spring for a lot of fringy guys to be out of work, but there's a lot of really good players that are still unsigned.
And J.D. Martinez just officially signed. Yeah. He hit, what, 45 homers last year? Three and two, 2 outs, third inning. That will go foul. Yeah, so I guess the idea of when you become a free agent, it's not only about what age you are, meaning when you're a free agent, but what off season. Or previous off seasons, Jake would have already signed a 7 or 8 year contract with somebody. Swing and a miss. All the outs were strikeouts, but Davidson a 2-run homer, and it's now a 1-run ball game. That youngster looks like J.D. watching the Masters. Cubs fans, show your team pride with Cubs checking and an official Cubs MasterCard debit card, only available at your local Wintrust Community Bank. Go to wintrust.com/Cubs to learn more. Member FDIC.
I do believe we have our first quality baby of the year.
We do. Bottom of the third. Great to have you along with us. First WGN telecast of the season. The next one will be a week from tomorrow. Night game against the Indians over in Goodyear. I would not say I'm in mid-season form, but I am starting to have an issue with what day of the week it is. So I guess that's good. That's a good sign, right? Baseball's back.
Yeah. We get into the flow of the baseball season, and they all kind of feel the same.
So we start on the 29th of March. The reason we begin the year on a Thursday is because they have now built in 4 extra off days during the season. So typically we would have started that following Monday.
Right.
Can't hurt, right?
The extra off days?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we open in a retractable roof stadium, so we should be okay in late March. Caratini swings and misses. Strike 3.
Check out the variety of luxury premier options that Wrigley Field has to offer for your next client, corporate, or family function. Like the Budweiser patio located in prime home run territory down the right field line. Visit Cubs.com/premier for an option that fits your needs.
Bodie swings and misses.
Well, a long road trip to start the season will help everybody back at Wrigley getting ready for the home opener as they continue to do renovations at the ballpark. Imagine they'll be pushing awfully hard here in the next few weeks.
Among the changes, the dugouts have been moved. They'll be a little farther up the lines, I guess, toward the foul poles. Santiago's 1-2, and he just struck out Bodie. And let's step aside and see what's coming up on WGN. Our WGN Sports crew with you here in Mesa. As Mike Freeman fouls. Our producer Mark Brady, our director today Jim Holly. Great to have Jim aboard. Mike Norman, our associate producer, our executive producer Bob Vorwald. Everybody enjoying some Arizona sunshine here in late February. This will be a 1-2-3 third inning for Santiago. Cubs 4, White Sox 3. Cubs lead the White Sox 4-3. And it's always great to have Theo Epstein, the Cubs president of baseball operations, stop by for a little play-by-play. Oh, what your career could have been, Theo. You've just gone into the play-by-play. Great to see you. How are you?
You too. Great to be on, guys.
So how you feeling here as games get started? Everything kind of started a little earlier than normal this year.
Yeah, I feel really good. You know, the vibe in camp from day one has been outstanding. Just a great bunch of guys and re-energized, I think. You know, having a chance to get away for the off-season and not having the World Series hangover to deal with. Guys are hungry, and it's been much discussed, but I think it's true. You see a real intent and purpose with the work they're putting in, and a lot of team bonding in an early stage. So we're excited about camp so far.
This is Corey Mazzoni, a right-hander. I asked Joe the question earlier. I'll ask you, what did you learn about this club last year? It was an interesting year and ultimately a very good year, getting back to the NLCS for the third straight time.
Yeah, I think the thing that stands out is just the resilience, and then what happened at the All-Star break, you know, getting away for 4 days and then the players coming back with a newfound sense of identity. I don't think anyone was happy with how engaged we were in the first half or the quality of play.
Off the foot of Mazzoni. Fortunately, it looks like he's all right. And they got the out. Nice play by Bodie, who's made a couple of really good defensive plays here this week.
It would have been easy to kind of sleepwalk through the rest of the year. 2 games under 500, 5.5 games out at the break. You know, we acquired Quintana at the break, but I think as important as that is the guys went back and looked in the mirror and realized this isn't who we are collectively, and it's not who they were individually, and came back and played really great baseball down the stretch. I think we also learned from that because we expended so much energy late in the season trying to claw back into the race and then ultimately hold off the Brewers and Cardinals that left us a little gassed for the postseason. So there's a lot of attention on getting off to a good start this year.
Yeah, it's a cliche, but it works, right? The idea of getting off to a good start. I mean, everybody says it every year, but there's a reason for it.
Yeah. So the question is, what's the formula, right, for getting up that good
I'm not sure there is a formula. You know, I'm not supposed to speak well of our division rivals, but for years the Cardinals were great at it. And doing a little research, talking to guys who've been in camps with La Russa, you know, they really put a lot of emphasis on playing the last week to 10 days of camp like it was the regular season. He had his regulars in there. They played 9 innings a lot with the starters late in camp and really ramped up the intensity. So, you know, Joe's got his own unique take on that with some similarities, and just being open to talking about it and then really getting locked in this last week of camp, I think, is important.
Yeah, the Mariners were here yesterday, and some of their people were saying that they've had bad starts over the last few years, and so they're trying to play more night games here. They're starting their workouts later in the day. They're trying to just change the, you know, try to simulate the regular season as much as possible here in Arizona.
Yeah, both good ideas, and you know, we always make sure we mix in a few night games late in camp. You know, the early start time to spring training, the spring training day, is something I've never quite understood, but I think it has a lot to do with guys wanting to play golf.
Sure.
So not too scientific.
You've been doing this a long time, Theo, even though you're still a young man, but I feel like, and JD, you can chime in, you've been in the game longer than both Theo and I, but Are clubs more open to trying things now than they were 20 years ago? It sure feels that way to me.
Oh, I would say for sure, yeah. You know, there's always been a herd mentality in baseball. What one club does and other clubs does, and a lot of times things are done just because they've always been done.
Right.
But I think there's been a big change in the thinking.
There's a base hit. And Theo, I mean, you've done so many things that have been on the forefront, but does it feel like the industry in general is much more open to try stuff like we've just discussed?
Yeah, I think there's no doubt about that. I think it's just
Why is that?
It's a byproduct of the information age. You know, the more information you have out there, the more collective common knowledge there is, the harder you have to dig for some competitive advantage. So if you're going to do the research, you're going to do the work, you're going to have a fresh perspective on things, then that is completely irrelevant if you're not willing to take some risks and experiment a little bit and to embrace change.
And you have to be willing to be wrong too, right?
Absolutely. I think it's a sign of a good organization being really comfortable being really publicly wrong about a few things and not caring how you might look or how it might come off, or trying to be safe and perfect all the time. I think in order to have any sort of breakthrough or advantage, you need to be comfortable being wrong.
On strike on Sanchez.
Baseball is an exercise in which we know we don't have anywhere close to all the answers. We only understand a fraction of what goes on the field in enough detail to be able to quantify it or predict it. So, if you're in a field where you're going to be wrong, then you should embrace it and work really hard to chip away at finding a few things that you might better understand just a little bit, enough to give you an advantage on the field that might manifest once or twice over the course of a season. That's what leads to a couple more wins, getting in the postseason. It's really valuable.
So, without giving away state secrets, what's the next level? What are smart baseball people thinking about and talking about these days that maybe the general baseball fan is not aware of, or the analyst who's looking for some insight?
As always, there's always a lot of work on injury prevention. It's just you miss so many valuable man games to injury. So especially with pitching, if you can keep your pitching just a hair bit healthier, that's incredibly valuable. And then I'll speak in broad terms, but there's taken all this detailed, granular information that we have, the real-time feedback that we have through the numbers and studying the game now and getting it onto the field. So improving your lines of communication, having the right people serve as liaisons between the analysts and the coaches, the analysts and the players, and make sure there's real organizational buy-in. It's not so much the information you get these days, although that can be an advantage if you find some unique data stream. But the real advantage is how you apply it and how it gets onto the field.
1-2 as Mazzoni tries to put away Sanchez. That's a late swing and tapped foul.
And then, of course, the ultimate competitive advantage is just understanding people and knowing when to ignore the numbers or when to combine an understanding of data with an understanding of the person, putting your players who are human beings in a position to succeed, understanding that they're more than just the numbers on the back of their card.
And I'm guessing that part of the equation, you learned a lot from the late Kevin Towers very early on in your baseball career, right?
Yeah, Kevin was the best I've ever seen at just having that uncanny knack to understand a player's makeup before it revealed itself to the rest of the world, and that's incredibly valuable. And he helped teach me how to understand the game from a player's perspective, and I'm incredibly grateful to him for that, among many other things that he taught me. And there was a really amazing celebration of his life on Sunday in San Diego, which is a testament to the kind of person that he was, that he impacted so many people that way.
Long battle here between Mazzoni and Sanchez. We asked Joe about some of the new members of the coaching staff. The major changes have come on the staff and on your pitching staff, and I guess the big headline addition was Yu Darvish, and it was unique in that it took a while after you had kind of made your pitch to Yu Darvish, because it's been a unique offseason.
Yeah, that's just the nature of this offseason. There's things have taken a while to come together. The market itself has taken a while to materialize, and players certainly have the right to wait, until they find a deal that they think is fair. But we never lost touch with you or with his agent. It was a really positive recruitment process and interaction the entire time. I think he's really comfortable here, really happy here, and eager to get going and help this team win a World Series, which is his career goal at this point, is to contribute to a World Series championship. And he's working really hard to make that happen. He had a wonderful offseason, changing his diet, changing his workouts a little bit, and he looks really ready.
Cordell, the batter, with 2 outs.
And maybe beneath the radar a little bit is the Chatwood signing, and it happened early, and you signed him with a 3-year deal. And you know, the numbers away from Coors Field are pretty darn good. The stuff is, you know, it's not a 5th starter, you know, repertoire that he features. He's got big arms, he's got good movement, good spin on the breaking pitch.
Yeah, he's always had plenty of stuff, and has been limited a little bit by where he's pitched in terms of using his curveball, and command's been the issue with him, not stuff at all. But you know, we think he's you know, extremely talented, has a lot of raw ability, but also really engaged and good member of the team, wanting to get better and eager to show what he can do away from that environment. So yeah, he doesn't have the typical 5th starter repertoire where you kind of, you know, they might get him 3rd time
every
through
day
the order.
You feel good about your matchup, you know.
Yeah, if he can harness his stuff and use all his pitches properly, it's exciting to think about what he can do. And we've seen that, you know, with just the games he's pitched against us. I mean, it's the breaking stuff, but also a 2-seamer and a 4-seamer, which he can use the right way. And I think combined with our advanced scouting and our pitching infrastructure and how eager he is to take the next step in his career, the sky's the limit for him.
So scouting obviously has changed, and you talked earlier about makeup. So your scouts in the field, you know, they're probably paying more attention to body language, to, you know, prying, getting to know what a player's all about, because there's so much analytical information that's available to you.
Yeah, and with amateur scouting too, that's the real point of emphasis on makeup. And then we've had a lot of discussions about what does that mean. You know, you're not necessarily looking for the best possible person. You're not looking for someone for your daughter to marry per se. You're looking for although that matters, but you're looking for great baseball makeup and trying to define what the core principles are that contribute to a player getting the most out of his ability and being a productive member of a team, because you affect the other 24 players as well. So, you know, I think responding to adversity is key. This is a game in which there's so much failure, and a lot of players will fail for the first time in pro ball, certainly at the big league level. So how they handle failure and adversity, and whether they can make the requisite adjustments, have enough of a foundation, a strong mental foundation to make adjustments and come back better, is really important.
Anderson had to back out of the way. Well, our conversations the last 3 springs, for sure, have been all about the big league club, but we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the organization as a whole. Can you pinpoint one area? I guess generally pitching is something you always want to be better at acquiring, but is there a particular position or anything you're focused on in terms of stocking this organization?
Yeah, it's all about pitching. You know, at this point, we've made some changes too with our personnel and our philosophy. We've had the best pitching in baseball, you know, the last 3 years by ERA, so I think there are a lot of things working well. But we can certainly improve how we're acquiring amateur pitching and then developing it through the system. It's probably the hardest thing to do in baseball, but increasingly valuable and important.
Theo, thanks for stopping by. We appreciate it as always.
Thanks, guys.
That's Theo Epstein, Cubs president of baseball operations. Welcome back. Thanks to Joe Madden and Theo Epstein for stopping by. We'll chat with Mark Gonzalez, who covers the Cubs for the Chicago Tribune, a little later on as well. Cubs lead the White Sox 4-3 as they will bat here in the bottom of the 4th inning. And it's Chesney Young against Hector Santiago. What did Anderson do? He fly to center? Listening to Theo. I think so.
Anderson.
You didn't write it down either.
No, I got Anderson singling and Abreu flying to center.
Oh, that's what happened.
Yeah.
You're right. Chesney Young gets a hold of one, but this one will stay in the yard. Whoa. And it's caught. Little bobble out there by Cordell.
See a lot of head shaking by the outfielders here in spring training, fighting, battling, sun in the eyes. Contacts are dry.
Hanneman bats with 1 out, nobody on. Santiago's been very good. He's coming on in the second. We'll drop untouched, foul. No, Anderson flied out.
Did he?
He did not sing.
Okay. I don't know.
Right the first time.
Okay, so what did I do then?
I don't know what
I have
you
to
did.
recreate my
Cordell
book.
walked. Did you miss that?
Ah, Cordell walked. That's what happened.
See, we're having these deep philosophical baseball discussions with Theo, and we've got to keep score as well.
You had to.
First game of the year, we're trying to do all of that at once.
Yeah, and you can't do that. You can't make the club the first day. You got to pace yourself. You either got to listen or keep score. You know, I'm over here Googling half the words that Theo's using so I can understand what he's saying.
1-2 on Hanneman, and he struck him out. Third strikeout for Santiago. Here's your fourth drive of the game. Ian Happ already with 2 leadoff home runs here in the Cactus League. 1 from each side of the plate. This one off Carson Fulmer. Strike. You asked Joe about doling out playing time. We expect Javier Baez to play a ton at second base. Ben Zobrist will play a lot of different positions. Will probably play some outfield like he did the last couple of years as well. You got to find time for Happ. Almora would like to be the everyday guy in center. So and
with the way Albert improved in the second half of the year against right-handed pitching, he certainly made his case. Of course, the problem is there's going to be plenty of days where Happ will be the better option in the lineup. And then the question is the trade-off defensively. Happ certainly a good enough outfielder, or a good enough athlete, excuse me, to be a very good center fielder. But Almora's already there. Almora's a plus defender.
Santiago with a 1-2-3 4th. He's retired 8 in a row since he came on.
It's the top half of the 5th. Cubs lead the White Sox 4-3. The newborn fan club is the perfect gift for parents of new Cubs. To showcase what it means to be a Cub for life, receive a photo from a custom birth announcement on the Wrigley Field marquee, Cubs birth certificate, pinstripe baby cap, and Rookie of the Year Cubs onesie. Visit Cubs.com/kids for more information.
Left-hander Michael Roth, who started the Cubs Cactus League opener on Friday, will pitch out of the bullpen today.
Roth, the 28-year-old left-hander from South Carolina, pitched at the University of South Carolina, College World Series, as a matter of fact.
Abreu looks at a strike.
He's had a little big league time with the Angels in 13 and 14, and then again in 2016 with the Rangers.
Yeah, Roth, certainly one of the best College World Series pitchers ever. How about the fact that he started 3 consecutive national title games? 2 no decisions and a win.
Yeah, and the story goes, his dad actually quit his job to go out and watch him pitch in Omaha. He was a car salesman, and for whatever reason, they wouldn't give him the time. His kid's pitching a national championship game, and they wouldn't give him the time off. And so Dad said, "Well, I'm out."
Interesting.
Yeah.
Almost hit him. Yeah, South Carolina won 2 College World Championships along the way. College World Series championships. play. You see that net extending now to the end of the dugouts, and we will see that at Wrigley Field and all around baseball. I think that's a good thing.
There's already been a couple here today that could have inflicted some damage if that net had not been extended.
Two and two. And he's run it full. Will get to the wall for Abreu. Timeout for the Giga Time high-speed replay powered by Xfinity. On Saturday, Javier Baez making his spring debut with two terrific defensive plays. That was a pretty good one, but this one takes the cake. Over the head of Rizzo, who got back to the bag, and Javi made the play out in shallow right. First game of the spring. The Giga Time high-speed replay is powered by Xfinity.
He's the most fun player in the big leagues to watch.
Pinch runner now for Abreu. And that person would be Connor Gillespie. Casey Gillespie. There's Connor, Cole, and Casey, right? This is Casey.
Maybe just a little more. Just get a little head tilt.
Michael Roth, 27 years of age, split time between two AAA clubs last year. Durham, they're part of the Rays organization, and then Sacramento with the Giants. 6-8 with a .484. He's been mostly a starter throughout his minor league career.
Run at second with nobody out here in the fifth. Cubs jumped out to a 4-0 lead in the first inning. Hendricks will make his Cactus League debut tomorrow. Yu Darvish on Thursday. I believe Quintana Friday. To the shortstop, Freeman. Routine. And once again, let's step aside and see what's coming up on WGN. Stay tuned. The WGN News follows our ball game. Davidson has walked, hit a 2-run homer, and scored twice. You look at this White Sox lineup and some of the younger guys. And certainly, there are a few Cubs you could say this about. A high strikeout rate. You can say that about almost every team. I have to remind myself of kind of the era that we're in.
Yeah, well,
every lineup has guys who strike out a lot.
Yeah. So what you're looking for is you want guys that walk a lot as well, because that's the well-rounded hitter. Or ideally, we all want Rizzo, we all want Joey Votto. You want those kinds of hitters that don't strike out much, walk a lot. They hit for power, but you can't shake a tree and find too many of those.
Davidson flies to Schwarber. Davidson struck out last year at a 37% clip. And only walked 4% of the time. So he's got to get those numbers to come together a little bit.
Yeah, because if the strikeouts are a byproduct of being patient and waiting for a pitch you can really do something with, and with that approach you work yourself into some dangerous counts, then you're going to strike out a little bit. I think a lot of guys could go out there and really cut down on their strikeout rate by just attacking early. But now you're swinging at pitchers' pitches. You're offering at pitches maybe a little bit out of the zone or down and away. So you can put the ball in play, but can you do anything with it? Especially big, strong guys like Davidson, they're looking for something they can really juice.
Leadoff double by Abreu. Gillespie the pinch runner. And Wellington Castillo with a 1-0 count. Fouled out of play. Wind has kicked up. Are expecting some rain late this afternoon, early evening. I see some wispy clouds above, but still a beautiful day. Strike call, 1-2. Yes, it does rain here in Arizona. Not very often. Typically during a month plus we're here in Arizona, we'll get 1 or 2 days of rain, and that's it.
Do you call those cumulus clouds?
Sure, why not?
Tim Lincecum has signed a deal with the Texas Rangers. Lincecum did not pitch last year. I wonder if they will use him out of the bullpen or give him a chance to start.
Well, they're going to have, however it shakes out, a pretty veteran starting rotation for the Texas Rangers. Nice job by Roth to get out of it. The Cubs maintain their lead. Cubs baseball is brought to you by Budweiser. Join the team that enjoys responsibly. Budweiser reminds you to drink wiser. Fans out in the spacious berm enjoying the Cubs and White Sox today here in Mesa. Danny Farquhar.
Lord Farquhar is on for the Pale Hose. 52 ball games last year, 4-2 with a .420. Well, he's got tough assignment here following Hector Santiago. Man, is he good.
Yeah, that's probably the best outing I've seen so far in the Cactus League. as he came on in the second inning and ended up working 3 scoreless without a base runner. Tyler Saladino's now playing short. And a couple of their prospects now in the outfield. Luis Robert is in center. And Luis Basabe is in right. Probably the last plate appearance for Schwarber today.
Eloy Jimenez, who the Cubs traded to the White Sox in the Quintana deal last summer, is not here. He's dealing with a little tender knee, I believe. He's considered by many to be their top prospect.
Launched into the White Sox dugout. Four-3 Cubs, 5th inning.
And we talked about Joey and Theo and made the point that the Cubs ultimately, despite the slow start, had a good year last year, all the way to the NLCS. But think about, the tough start for Schwarber. Overall, the numbers not good for him. Addison Russell did not have a good year. John Lester had a bit of an off year. You can find a lot of spots in this Cubs roster where you could anticipate marked improvement to go along with the continued development of guys like Almora, Contreras. What numbers would he ultimately have put up had he not been hurt last year? And this is a team that scored plenty of runs last year, but it looks like they're going to be poised for another big year offensively.
So Schwarber removed for a pinch runner, Charcer Burks. And the bullpen struggled in the postseason. And among the incumbents, returning Justin Wilson. And you would expect a little bit of a reset for him. That's a strike on a heater, 1-1. So Burks in for Schwarber. Wade Davis is a Rocky. Hector Rondon is now a Houston Astro. Wade got a 3-year contract. Right-hander and hard-throwing Dylan Maples.
Yeah, he's an intriguing guy as well. Quite a weapon if he can put it all together. Brandon Morrow is the new closer for the Cubs.
First, nobody out. 3-2 on Contreras. Burks takes off. That one pummeled out into right center. And it's going to one-hop the wall. Burks will score easily. Contreras with an RBI double. It's 5-3.
He's been on the ball all day here today. Lined out first time up, rocketed into a double play, lining the ball to first base last time, and now splits the gap in right center. A little hesitation by Charcer Burks until he realizes that the ball will not be caught, and off he goes.
Wilson taken out for a pinch runner. P.J. Higgins will run for him. Stella bounces foul.
Wasn't Higgins, wasn't that the sidekick on Magnum PI? What was his name? Higgins?
Yes. Yeah. He's a PJ.
Yeah.
Not a PI. Balls and a strike. Close, but he got back in. Well, you come over from minor league camp and pinch run, you do not want to get picked off.
Yeah, his heart's probably pumping pretty good right now. Brief moment of panic. Thankfully, there's no replay. That's just rude to treat a kid like that coming over from minor league camp.
I'm with you.
You're all nervous, your legs are quaking a little bit, kind of looking around trying to take it all in, and they're trying to pick you off. Got the kazoo helmet working.
On a hop, a little bobble, but plenty of time for Moncada. Runner advances to third on the play. Well, a week from Thursday, March 8th, before the Cubs host the Padres out in the left field garage here at Sloan Park, the Wives Mystery Baseball and Garage Sale will take place. And the proceeds will benefit Paz de Cristo Community Center here in Mesa, an organization aiming to feed, clothe, and empower those in need here in the East Valley. So that is 1 week from Thursday, March 8th. Make sure you stop by. It'll start at 11:05 a.m. when the gates open and continue until the bottom of the 5th inning. Infield in for the White Sox. 1 strike on Caratini. And that one's shank foul. I failed to ask you earlier. Did you have a good winter?
Yeah, very good winter. Quiet, mostly quiet.
Okay.
Split time between Chicago and northern New York. So we got plenty of cold. Swing. How about you? Good
Great.
winter? Yeah.
All in one piece. Good family time and raring and ready to go. Center field, Robert will not be able to get there. Ball actually played by Delmonico. Caratini with an RBI hit. It's 6-3.
They're a high average hitter throughout his minor league career. Batted .342 at AAA last year. Out in front of this one a little bit. It's a changeup that just stayed up in his zone a little bit. So instead of getting the swing and miss, it gets a little soft contact, but it pays off for Caratini, his ability to just to stay on that off-speed pitch a little bit.
Yasiel Ballagert will run for him, as the Cubs are trying to set a major league record for pinch runners here in 1 inning. That is now what, 3 and counting, right?
Yeah, that's right. I didn't write them all down.
Well, you're easing in. Runner takes off. Bodie fouls.
Yeah, that would be a little tip for those of you who like to keep a scorecard. If you're going to keep a scorecard during a spring training game, use a pencil and write really small.
to the top of the lineup. 3 pinch runners and a DH. That's a new Beck title. Another foul, 1 and 2 rather, on Bodie. Farquhar has that mouthpiece a lot of guys use these days. Are you familiar with the idea of the...
Are they grinding their teeth when they're on the mound?
Well, I think it...
To help you relax, you don't clench your jaw. More of
something about it's supposed to help your performance. I don't know if it's the way it aligns your jaw or what have you. Moncada can't get it. Bodie with a base hit.
David Bodie having a nice day. That's his second knock. He tripled back in the first.
And here comes Rick Renteria. That will probably be it for Farquhar, and it is.
Ricky's got a little hitch in his giddy up here.
Pitching change here in the 5th. It's the Cubs 6 and the White Sox 3. We'll be back.
Cubs are introducing game-changing new premier experiences at Wrigley Field. The seats featuring prime views and access to an exclusive club and first-class amenities. These new premier experiences will allow fans to enjoy Cubs baseball and America's most majestic ballpark in a whole new way. Visit CubsPremier.com to join the Premier Client Priority List.
Xavier Cedeno, left-hander, been around for a while.
Last year he was a Ray. Spent 3 years there, parts of 3 years anyway. Likewise with Washington, and that's how he started his career too with the Astros. Parts of 3 seasons in Houston.
Mike Freeman looks at ball 1. Omar Narvaez now catching. We want to welcome those watching us on MLB Network today. And Casper Jim Deshaies from Sloan Park in Mesa. 6-3 Cubs here in the 5th inning. A little bit overcast now as we near the late afternoon hours.
That Cedeno had a little bit of an Antonio Banderas thing going on. A swashbuckling left-hander. Any Banderas there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mike Freeman in his professional career has played every position except for catcher.
3-0 strike. It's 3-1. Foul to first.
It's a new weapon. You like that lid they're wearing?
I do. The batter logo.
Yeah.
I like the white button on top. That's a nice touch. And that Sox logo, that obviously reminds you of the La Russa Sox, right?
Mm-hmm.
83. Got him on a knee buckler.
Yeah, I got a little jelly-legged there on that curveball. Off the front side, yeah, just kind of wobble on him. At the mercy of the umpire, thought it was good enough.
Young with 2 down, 2 on, 2 in for the Cubs here in the 5th. Bodie at first, he was probably wondering where his pinch runner was. It's the only guy who reached in the inning who's still running. Oh, he loves getting the reps. Cubs 6, White Sox 3 after 5. Hey, you'll notice at the corner of Clark and Addison, right across the street from Wrigley Field, the Hotel Zachary will be opening on Monday, March 26th. The Hotel Zachary is named after Zachary Taylor Davis, a famous Chicagoan, the original architect of Wrigley Field, known as the Frank Lloyd Wright of baseball. That is sweet. Reservations now available. HotelZachary.com to book for as early as April 23rd. There is a Taylor Davis in the ballgame. He's catching for Dylan Maples. Cubs lead 6-3.
Too bad Pat Zachary wasn't pitching. Dylan Maples made it to the big leagues last year. He rocketed through the Cubs minor league system last season. A kid with a big arm who's had command issues throughout his career, but when he
that's his pitch.
Yeah, that slider is just devastating. And rush it up there in the high 90s as well.
Yeah, he thought his career was just about over prior to last year. Really a cool story. It's 2-1 to Moncada. Misses 3 balls and a strike. Today, half for the Cubs. Davidson for the White Sox. Off to center. That's Hanneman battling the sun and making the grab. You can play the sun here in Arizona. You can play it anywhere. It's kind of like New York, right?
If you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. Yeah?
You can make a catch here. You can make it anywhere.
Might be a top 5 name in baseball. Nicky Delmonico.
Nothing in 2 on the White Sox left fielder. Cubs will finish spring training in the Grapefruit League with 2 games against the Red Sox in Fort Myers. Drilled out into left center. And a double for Delmonico. So he made the big error early, but he's also 3 for 3 at the plate, and that will end his afternoon. So he'll be lifted for a pinch runner.
Stayed on that backdoor breaking ball nicely.
Charlie Tilson, the Chicago native, will run for him. Gotta give some props to New Trier High School. Charlie Tilson, a second rounder out of New Trier, 2011 by the Cardinals.
Get him.
Ooh, Davis almost got him. Like nicknames. Do you know the New Trier High School?
I do not.
The Trevians.
Trevians? What is a Trevi or a Trevian?
I think it's like a Spartan. 3-0 the count. Sanchez draws the walk. It's Jim Hickey, also a Chicago native. On the south side, he grew up rooting for the Cubs. And here he is in a Cub uniform, the new pitching coach. And you've known Jim for a long time. He was the pitching coach in Houston before he went to Tampa Bay.
Yeah. He's had a nice long career. He's worked alongside a lot of really talented pitchers over the years. Clemens and Pettit and Oswalt and Houston, among others. Ooh, there's that good slider.
Luis Robert.
Jim Hickey was originally drafted by the White Sox, 13th round in 1983. Pitched in the minor leagues for 8 years.
I really like Luis Robert. He's just 20 years old. And their number 4 prospect, according to Baseball America, 6'2", 210. He's from Cuba. White Sox have a lot of quality in terms of their farm system. They've got quantity too. They've got a lot of them. Breaking ball inside.
Yeah, most of the analysts that really cover the organizational depth rate the White Sox as a top 3 farm system in all of baseball.
They have 5 Baseball America's top 100 prospects on their spring training roster. Swing and a miss, 3-2. And Robert is one of those. Former Cub farmhand Eloy Jimenez, you mentioned him earlier. He's listed by Baseball America as the number 4 prospect in baseball. They got him in the Quintana deal.
If you're going to get a guy like Quintana, and it wasn't just the fact that they got a quality pitcher, but they got a guy who was under control at a very good price, and that really freed them up to make the move to get Yu Darvish this offseason.
The bases are now loaded. Tyler Saladino. I don't even recognize Tyler without the cool mustache. He always had that look of being an extra from the show Deadwood.
Good try there.
Bases loaded. That's Tilson at third, Sanchez at second, and Robert, the runner at first. One and two. 97 from Dylan Maples.
Always battled the command issues, but the stuff's so good. That's the kind of guy you want to give multiple opportunities to, because if he ever puts it together, that 97 coupled with that slider could be devastating.
Ground ball into left. They're going to try to score two. Burke's throw will be cut off, and it's back to a one-run ball game. Tyler Saladino with a two-run single.
Chokes up on the bat a little bit. Finds a hole on the left side of the infield. It is typical in spring training to see the pitchers ahead of the hitters in the early going, but based on what we've seen in the Cubs games, that has not been the case. A lot of runs crossing home plate here in the early going. 9-9 yesterday.
Outside on Gillespie. Two and one. First and second, 2 runs in. Maples missed yet again, 3-1. Nearing the 30 pitch mark. Right back to the mound. And they'll turn the double play. 1-6-3. White Sox get 2. It's 6-5 Cubs.
Hey, welcome back. Own a piece of Cubs history as part of the Cubs' ongoing effort to restore and modernize Wrigley Field. Several sections of seats have been or will be removed. These seats are now available to purchase in sets of 2. Visit Cubs.com/seat sale for more information. Slithering Sam, the seat salesman.
6-5, the Cubs lead the White Sox. They have led throughout, but the White Sox keeping it close. Veteran right-hander Genmar Gomez here in the bottom of the 6th.
.725 ERA in 18 ball games last year. Non-roster invitee to camp this spring. His numbers last year posted with the Philadelphia Phillies.
So for those who may not know, as Hanneman takes ball 1. When we say non-roster invitee, what do we mean?
He's not on the 40-man roster, but he's been extended an invitation to spring training.
So he's in big league camp. He gets big league meal money. He gets a name on the back, the whole deal.
Yeah, and a lot of times with a veteran guy like Gomez, he's got a chance to pitch his way onto the ball club. They may just don't, maybe did not have room on the 40-man roster, but if he performs well, they could make a transaction, open up a roster spot for him, and he could break with the club. That's his hope. Change piece there. A couple of years ago, he had 37 saves for the Phillies. First came to the big leagues with Cleveland and did a nice job for them, serving, excuse me, as kind of a swing man, move in and out of the rotation into the bullpen. A lot of times a veteran guy like Gomez would come into spring training with an agreement with the club that if he didn't make the team, he'd be willing to go to AAA, but he might have a contractual out, say, by May 15th or June 1st. If I'm not on the big league club, you have to grant me my free agency.
Popped up by Hanneman. Narvaez has a beat on it, but it'll be the first baseman, Gillespie, to make the grab. Comes Bijan Rademacher. His first plate appearance today. Gomez to the plate. Breaking ball stays high.
Bijan played at AAA Iowa last year. Been in the Cubs system since 2012. 13th round pick that year. Out of Orange Coast College in Costa Mesa, California. Seen him in spring training the last couple of years. He's not yet reached the big leagues.
Mike Napoli, non-roster invitee with the Cleveland Indians. His physical. And he was working at the free agent camp.
Yeah.
In Bradenton.
Coming off a very bad year. So that's that's the kind of signing you expect to see maybe at this point in spring training, but again, some of those other guys that are still out there, Arrieta and Alex Cobb and Lance Lynn, there's still some big impact signings that could happen to really change a team's fortunes.
Schwarzer Burks on deck.
You get the feeling that some of those guys, there's contract offers from 2 or 3 different clubs that are sitting on their desk, and it's anytime you're ready to go, we're willing to sign you for our number if you want to come and play. And the players and the agents are holding out, saying, we think we can do better. And I think there's a lot of these cross conversations with us. Well, whatever you do, give us one more call before you make your decision.
And then if the offers don't change, and we get into April, how long do you wait if you're one of these free agent pitchers?
Yeah. How many texts are flying back and forth between the players and the agents? What are you hearing? What do you got? I'm getting antsy.
Burks with 2 outs and takes a pitch low.
Well, and of course, if there's a big injury on a contending club, all of a sudden the market value for some of these free agents is going to take a pretty good bump.
Good fastball for a strike. It's Rob Zastryzny, Canadian-born left-hander. Well, I don't want to speak for you, but I'm sure you would agree. Just on a very personal level, I hope Jake gets a really good deal.
Yeah, and he's going to get a good deal, whether it's the deal he was looking for coming into the offseason. Kind of like Yu Darvish. You know, when you look at what most people projected for you to get this offseason, the number the contract he ultimately signed for, very nice contract, but it's not what a lot of people thought he would get.
And it's also right now, I mean, with Jake especially, it's a situation where all the comps kind of favor him probably in terms of guys who've signed deals in the last couple of years. But it hasn't seemed to matter. It's almost like, well, yeah, but times have changed.
And I think that the conversation we had with Theo, I think the times have changed a little bit. And I think to a certain extent, we used to drive the free agent market was past performance. And now I think it's more, you know, what are you going to be able to do for me going forward? Because they have a better ability to predict what a guy's going to do in the later years of his career and later years of a given contract.
In some weird way, I almost feel like the fact that Jake hasn't had that major arm surgery in the last 4 or 5 years counterintuitively might be hurting him a little bit, right?
Yeah, I would imagine Scott Boras, who represents Jake, has had that conversation with some of these general managers, saying, "Man, he's been healthy. He's a beast. He's in great shape, but he's thrown a lot of innings, and the odds it might catch up to him."
Swing and a miss. So Gomez goes 1, 2, 3. We go to the 7th. Cubs 6, White Sox 5. 6-5, Cubs lead the White Sox. 7th inning. Rob Zastryzny is on for the home team, and Mark Gonzalez from the Chicago Tribune, the Cubs beat writer and one-time covered the White Sox, is with us in the booth. Gonzo, good to see you. Happy spring training.
Happy spring training to you. How many years is this for you?
Oh my goodness, this is 14 for me with the Cubs, and JD already a 6th this season. It's gone by fast.
Yeah, 6 here. Yeah, I can't count. I don't know how many total. It's been
how many years for you covering the big leagues?
27.
Wow. What was your first year?
92.
I don't want to do the math.
92. But I didn't have to spend my springs in Kissimmee.
No, I didn't spend that spring in Kissimmee either. I was done with the Astros. I actually went to camp with the A's that year. Didn't make the ball club.
That was your first year out here, wasn't it, JD?
Yeah, it was the first. It was the only time I'd spent here prior to this gig.
So here's Rob Z. So John Lester today, what did he have to say?
He said he felt more comfortable throwing out of the stretch than the windup, which is kind of odd, but he said, you know, still have plenty of time to work on it. He was concentrating mostly on his fastball and cut fastball. You saw him throw a nice, I think it was a 72-mile-an-hour curve. But you know, he knows what he has to work on, and I think Now that he's the opening day starter, he can start, focusing in on things, specific things, and move accordingly. I mean, this is his 7th opening day assignment, so he knows what's in front of him.
He was pretty happy and doesn't take for granted the idea of being an opening day starter. I think particularly with this group.
Yes, and it's refreshing to see that he was accountable for his season last year and is willing to make amends for it. I think a lot of guys are, but for John to really be forthcoming and wanting to set the tone is refreshing.
1-2 the count. And Luis Basabe, swing and a miss, strike 3. Nice work by Zastryzny. Well, everyone has kind of their own view of things. What intrigues you the most about this camp?
I think the fact that the young guys have really stepped up in terms of their wanting to take a part of this, become more assertive in their leadership. A lot of guys talk about the communication, trying to be on the same page, whether it be the middle infielders, the starting pitchers. And I just think that, they felt last year there were a lot of things that went into them not going to the World Series. And you add up all the things, whether it be the hangover, the fatigue, the slow start, not hitting runners in scoring position, just a lot of little things added up. But I think that nobody was pointing fingers. They all looked in the mirror and they said, hey, we got to make this work. And I think it's something that I've noticed that everybody to a man has spoken up about.
Matt Skoll batting in the DH spot now for Davidson.
So you're plugged in, Gonzo. You talk to a lot of baseball people, a lot of scouts, and it's very early in spring, but just the conversations you have with baseball people, what you see with your own eyes, do you have any concerns about this club?
I think it's more down on the farm as far as depth goes. And, for so many years here, there was always that wave of guys coming through here. And you look down and you see that there's not the 5-star billing of guys that you once saw. But on the other hand, these guys are young but experienced. They have 3-4 years under their belts. I think the flip side is you just hope they don't get hurt, because that reservoir of talent isn't as deep as it was in past years.
Yeah, and when you get into position to win and you have to make moves to acquire veterans at the trade deadline, it does hurt your depth a little bit, so you become a little bit vulnerable to a big injury. And I guess that's why the versatility of so many of these guys really pays dividends. You feel like you're covered everywhere on the field.
Right, because everybody talks about, where are they going to get the at-bats, and Joe Madden, being around for as long as he has, knows that the game can humble you, and if there's an injury, well, there you go. That solves your problem, and it happened in 2016, unfortunately, when Kyle Schwarber went down, and, everybody got their at-bats.
One thump foul to right. We've been talking about the White Sox today as well, and in terms of their process, it seems as though their fans have bought in, and there's going to be a trade that Rick Hahn will make over the next couple of years where he's going to deal one of his prospects for an established big league player, and some fans are going to hate it. And Theo went through that here, where you shift that paradigm. You trade away veteran guys, and fans don't like that, but then they buy into the youth. But when you're ready to really make that next step and compete big time for a championship, it's an interesting shift in how people view things these days.
And you have to go for it. I mean, dating back to 1984 with Dallas Green, when he got Rick Sutcliffe and traded Mel Hall and Joe Carter, you have to do it. I mean, as much as you love your kids, you don't know when's that time going to be when you got to win it all. And we saw it last July with Jose Quintana, but it cost them Dylan Cease and obviously Eloy Jimenez. But that speaks to the price of trying to win a title.
You have to be really clear-headed, don't you? Because it's easy to fall in love with these kids that you've seen come up through your system. And
absolutely, and everybody loved Eloy, rightfully so. But I thought Cease had tremendous upside with the breaking pitch that going along with a 98-mile-an-hour fastball. But you got to make those moves, sooner or later.
It feels also to me that particular trade, from the Cubs' perspective, it threaded a needle in that Quintana had a couple more years under team control. The Cubs wouldn't have had to give up what they gave up had he not. But I think, for the Cubs and White Sox to make that deal, it's like all the stars had to align perfectly, and the White Sox where they were, right, in terms of wanting to pile up prospects.
Absolutely.
We might not see a trade quite like that between these two organizations in a long time.
I think you nailed it. Especially, with the White Sox striking when they did with 2 weeks left in the trade deadline to do that. And then, on the flip side, it helped the Cubs long term as well, because that contract was very team friendly, and it also freed up money for them to go sign Darvish.
Right. Two strikes on Narvaez. Good battle here between Zastryzny and Narvaez. 6-5 in the 7th.
Speaking of prospects, David Bote, he's not a guy that is one of those 5-star guys, but he's opened some eyes here. I mean, the catch he made yesterday down the foul line and getting a few hits here and there. The fact that he can play third as well as second. I mean, he's a guy that can grow on you, and you're not asking him to play 120 games once he gets here. You have bias there, but a guy who can move around can help you if there's an injury.
Yeah, we were talking about him earlier. It seems like he's taking a step forward here. The last year in the Arizona Fall League, hit 14 home runs at AA last year. Showed some power that he hadn't in the past.
Well, and you bring up a good point. When you get to where the Cubs are, we think about prospects as that ball will drop fair just inside the line for a base hit. Good at bat by Narvaez. We tend to solely focus on the blue chippers, the top 100 guys around baseball. But if a David Bote or somebody like that, and actually Jason Vossler's now playing third, of course. Bote just left the game, but if a guy like that can come up and do one thing to help you win one game down the road, sometimes that's all it takes.
Absolutely, and an experience like this being up here is tremendous. The coaching staff is familiar with those guys, and they're familiar with the big leaguers up here. It's a smooth transition.
This is charged by Vossler. They get one, but that's it. Yuri Garcia beat out a double play ball, and that'll bring Charlie Tilson to the plate. Tilson's story is something, huh?
Wow.
Got to the big leagues and immediately got hurt back in 2016. And the Chicago kid, as we mentioned, went to New Trier. 25 years old.
Second round pick, right? Out of high school?
Yeah, by the Cardinals. Yep.
What are you hearing on the free agent front? We're talking Arrieta at lunch yesterday. Alex Cobb, Lance Lynn. There's a whole bunch of good players out there.
Wow. Boy, I wonder what that camp's looking like.
Yeah. Anything bubbling up in the rumor mill today? It's quiet, isn't it? There's nothing going on.
It's spooky quiet. I think what might happen now is it would take one injury to a starter to get teams moving and get the free agent market percolating again.
1-2 on Tilson. Tying run at third with 2 outs. On the ground to end the inning. Gonzo, thanks for stopping by. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
7th inning stretch time. 6-5 Cubs.
I can't wait.
music track from the Replacements. Yeah, we can't hardly wait. Opening day will be on March 29th at Marlins Park in Miami.
It'll be here before you know it.
This is right-hander Connor Walsh. Facing Taylor Davis. And a called strike. Davis homered yesterday. Made his major league debut last season. Cubs batting in the 7th with a 1-run lead. Taylor does not get cheated, does he?
No, he's very unique. He was up there, no batting gloves, got a lot of waggle. Front side really opens up. You would think that he'd have no chance whatsoever to handle an outside pitch. He's got good eye-hand coordination, and he quite often is able to make pretty solid contact when they stay away from him. But isn't that funky, the way that front foot? Steps right towards third base almost.
You know what he looks like when he stands up there? If you could put a mirror image. Base hit. He looks like a left-handed power hitter.
Yeah.
Right from the right side. Kind of has that Matt Stairs look.
And they're trying to work him away, and Walsh just misses badly. Missed his location by about a foot.
Jeffrey Baez will bat for the first time in the DH spot for La Stella. Foul tip, strike one.
That was cheesy. 94 with pretty good life. Baseball America has Walsh as the number 30 prospect in the Sox system.
Got it. Back near our broadcast booth on the foul. 0-2 on Baez.
Baez started his professional career at the age of 17 from Venezuela. '81 games at AA Tennessee last year. 7 minor league seasons, a .260 lifetime batting average.
Toward the middle. And Garcia can only get the out at second.
He didn't get that.
And no, you're right.
No.
He was not on the bag.
No, he's got a little greedy. He could have gotten one for sure at second base, but he was hoping for 2, so he made the quick throw to first base without ever getting second. He's going to go get it. No, I'm going to try to throw, and as he steps towards the bag, he unloaded before he got to the base.
He could have hurt himself too with that extension.
Yeah, so he makes the throw, then he steps on the bag.
So
they don't allow that.
No, they don't. Well, they allow it. They just aren't going to get it out. Ballagert takes low and outside. And we'll give a shout out to our good buddy Eddie Olczyk watching today. And we're raring to get back to work. And he's almost there.
Yeah, I was reading a story in The Athletic yesterday, the day before. Eddie has done treatments, So that is great news.
Yep. Allergert's got some power. Another chance for Garcia. And that'll go 4 to 6 to 3. So this time they get 2. You don't always get a shot at redemption this quickly, but Garcia takes advantage.
Hey, charged that ball, then retreated to try to find a more friendly hop. Still had to deal with a pretty difficult tweener there. Good hands bailed him out. He was able to get his double play.
Here is Bossler. Took over for David Bodie at third. Runner at third, 2 outs.
I'm officially done keeping the scorecard.
Okay.
Went beyond what I normally would do for a season opener, spring training opener. You know it's time to stop scoring when you're putting the outcomes in the boxes of the other team. Forgot to turn the page.
Yeah, that can get a little confusing.
And then you try to recreate it, and then you get to the point where you say, why?
Nice power surge last year from Bossler. He had 21 home runs at AA Tennessee.
This story kind of like Bodie's.
She is not giving up on the scorecard.
No, she's good. What has she got going on there?
I don't know, maybe.
She got a crossword puzzle under that score sheet. Is that a ruse?
The Cubs will welcome in the Oakland A's. They're back here on Thursday against the Rockies before heading to Tempe on Friday to play the Angels.
I've seen Bossler a little bit the last couple of springs as well. I don't know enough about his swing to see if there's been any really marked change in his approach. If he's trying to lift the ball, so many hitters now are buying into the launch angle, trying to get the low ball in the air, trying to get the ball in the air, period. And two, a lot of times a young player, guy signs at the age of 20, 21, he isn't fully developed yet, gets a little bit bigger and stronger, understands the strike zone a little bit better, and you see those power numbers start to climb. I guess what the scouts would call projectable power. They see a young kid with a swing and the hit tool looks good. They say, yeah, but it looks like he's going to fill out a little bit, and you could see more power coming his way.
Walsh gets out of it with no runs allowed. It's late. Cubs 6, White Sox 5 from the desert. Don't miss your chance to experience spring training here inside beautiful Sloan Park. Tickets are still available for games this spring. To purchase seats, visit Cubs.com. Dwayne Underwood Jr. will work here in the 8th inning. Cubs nursing a 6-5 lead.
Game winner at AA last year with a 4.43 ERA, and second round pick of the Cubs in 2012.
shot off the bat of Patrick Leonard for a leadoff single.
Wood has dealt with some injury problems. He's worked his way through the Cubs system. Prior to the 2016 season, MLB.com had him as the number 77 prospect in all of baseball.
Robert, the batter. And he singles into left.
Triple plays in order.
Now Saladino. Bunted foul. Mentioned this earlier. Yeah, that's what we're used to seeing. How can you get rid of that? First and second, nobody out. Fastball just missed. So Shohei Ohtani scheduled to pitch on Friday, and the Cubs are in Tempe, but Mike Scioscia says Ohtani will pitch in a B game against the Brewers in Maryville. So the Cubs will not face him. Let's see if the Cubs can turn two. They do. 6-4 to 3, 2 down.
Well, that'll help clean things up.
Court starting it. Steven Bruno now playing second. Charged by Court. He's got it, and he throws to first in time. Underwood gets out of it, and the Cubs still lead. Cubs 6, White Sox 5. And a former Cub, he's now 31 years old, Chris Volstad, will work parts of 8 big league seasons, including a brief stint with the White Sox last year. Began his career in the Marlins system. Former first-round pick.
Yeah, he's been mostly minor leaguer the last few years. 3-10 at Charlotte last season. Came up and pitched in September for the Sox. Debuted with the Marlins back in 2008. Got off to a good start with 6-4 with a .288, making 14 starts in his rookie year.
Ryan Court, a Chicago area guy, born in Elgin, went to Dundee Crown High School in Carpentersville, and then Illinois State. Nice play. 10,769 paid crowd here at Sloan Park. Inside for a ball. Catches the corner.
Didn't have to be.
Several new managers around the game, including Aaron Boone, our former colleague. Now the manager of the New York Yankees.
Yeah, how about that?
That move. Alex Cora takes over the Red Sox. Backhanded play. Rondon, the shortstop, and a whiff over there by Leonard, the first baseman. It looked to be playable. It was low. Jose Rondon is the shortstop, and he'll be charged with an error.
Yeah, you see Leonard tapping his chest as if to tell Rondon, my bad, you got the error, but I should have helped you out here. Really nice play on the backhand. The footwork got a little tangled for Rondon, and he threw a little sinker over there, but still should have been caught. They might change the scoring on that one.
Steven Bruno takes a strike. Ron Gardenhire, now the Tiger manager. Cubs will play the American League Central this year, including a home and home with Detroit.
Mickey Callaway now managing the New York Mets, former pitching coach of the Indians.
Gabe Kapler now with the Phillies.
Ooh, good sinkage. It's always been Volstad's game. Big guy, 6'8", 240. Doesn't throw hard, but good sinking action. And a guy in the regular year in a situation like this, you might be thinking about playing a little hit and run. Not no balls and 2 strikes.
Backhanded play, Saladino. They'll get one. That is a heck of a double play turn. Saladino with a nice backhand. And Garcia the turn at second base.
Yeah, that was pretty. Just a happy pitch there. Bruno can feel good about hitting the ball hard. Beautiful double play. 2 long throws. They still get their man. So who's on the hot seat? Who's going to be the first manager fired? Let's go dark here.
February 26th. We're already got somebody on the hot seat. Man, oh man. Oh, February 27th. Okay. Oh, well, it's the 27th.
Like,
I thought it was the 26th,
yeah,
so we're good.
Yeah. Yesterday would have been a little premature. Today,
it's totally good.
We're 3 games into the Cactus League season. We can start talking about managers on the hot seat.
It seems to me that for the most part, you have guys who are just getting started, either like in their first or second season, or guys who've been with their teams forever. A lot of in between.
Yeah, and you know, Like Brian Price, it seems like the last couple of years there's been a lot of talk in Cincinnati about Brian being in trouble, but they haven't had really good clubs.
Right. Popped up by DJ Wilson. Might be spinning some records in Scottsdale later tonight. Cubs 6, White Sox 5 as we go to the ninth. We'll have the Cubs and the Indians a week from tomorrow, Wednesday, March 7th, 7 o'clock Central Time from Goodyear Ballpark. Make sure you join us. Cubs will play the Indians in interleague play this season. Our condolences to Terry Francona. His father Tito recently passed away. Oscar De La Cruz in a save situation.
Yeah, this is one of the more highly regarded pitching prospects in the Cubs system. Big Oscar, 6'4", 210 pounds. Boom.
Basabe takes a strike.
The cheese at the knees there. Bottom of the knees, 94 from De La Cruz. Working with a purpose.
Yep.
Don't stop me. Let me go, man.
Scoreless inning in his debut on Saturday against Texas.
Oh, you got to be kidding me.
That pitch should count, shouldn't it?
He gave him time.
Jim Hickey, I think, not real happy with Dan Bellino.
Bellino was still talking to Hickey when De La Cruz went into his windup.
Great to see Tim Buss, the Newton, Iowa High School Hall of Famer, behind him. Outside for a ball.
I don't think we're going to have to worry about a pitch clock with Oscar out there.
2-2 count. And we'll try it again. Yeah, so we'll see on the mound visit limit. There are a lot of disclaimers. You basically get 6 visits, so that's a catcher, a first baseman, a pitching coach, a manager, without taking the pitcher out. But it doesn't count if it comes as a pinch hitter is announced. If there's an injury, obviously. Swing and a miss. Nicely done by Mr. De La Cruz. One away. There will be some strategy involved in saving at least a couple of those visits for late in the game, right?
I would think that's going to be a point of emphasis, that they're really going to have to ratchet up their communication early in the ball game to make sure there's plenty of those visits in their pocket late in the ball game.
It used to be if the catcher wanted to go out, he went out, but they'll have to be a little bit more careful about it.
Yeah, I would think any catcher visit would have to be called from the dugout. I don't think the catchers will have the freedom to just go jogging out there at any time and essentially burn a timeout.
It's like Adam Engel pinch running. And he takes off. Here's the throw. He's going to be out. Looked like he got into the game to swipe a bag and get into scoring position. But Taylor Davis had other ideas.
Yeah, Taylor Davis says, not on my watch. Sox trying to get into scoring position here. 1-run game in the ninth. Davis was ready for it. You see the quick feet. perfect pitch to work with.
Now 2 outs. Two balls and a strike on Omar Narvaez. Ground ball to the second baseman. Bruno up with it. Cubs win. Cubs win as they hang on 6-5 the final. They did not trail today. And just good to be back on the air.
Yeah, it's good to be back. We talked about at the beginning of the ball game, the crack of the bat, the snap of the leather. We had some wafting hot dog smells up here. We had hardball, and we got a W. That's a good day.
We'll wrap things up from Mesa in a moment. Cubs 6, White Sox 5, your final.